Bernardo Bellotto was born in Venice in 1722. At this time, the picturesque city on the Adriatic was a popular place for many travelers, particularly young aristocrats on their grand tour, their educational adventure to the most important cities of Europe. One of the most common souvenirs of a visit to Venice in the 18th century was a painting, which often presented the beauty of this fascinating place. The cityscapes are known as vedute. One of the most exceptional painters of vedute was Bellotto's uncle, Antonio Canal. Canal's works presented the architecture of Venice in the shining light of the sun. The views were made to come alive with figures of inhabitants and visitors, as well as floating barges and gondolas. The paintings were characterized by a lightness of brushstrokes, warm tones, and realism in the presented architecture and gestures of the figures. At the age of 14, Bellotto started working in his uncle's workshop. The road to becoming a painter led mainly through the skills of producing drawings, the starting point of each painting. The following step was to master techniques with oils. At the beginning, the style of the young Venetian was very similar to that of his famous uncle. With Canal's agreement, Bellotto used the same pseudonym and signed his paintings with the name Canaletto. However, even in the first period of Bellotto's creativity, certain features of his distinct style are apparent. Among others are a more accurate representation of architectural details, cooler color tones, and a greater contrast between light and shadows. At the age of 25, Bellotto is offered work in Dresden. He leaves Venice, as it turns out, forever. In the capital of Saxony, he works for the Polish king and elector Augustus III, as well as his trusted minister Heinrich von Brühl. The city on the Elbe and its surroundings are an artistic challenge for the painter. The light, sky, and landscape are all different here. Bellotto's vedute no longer play the role of sentimental travel souvenirs. The format of his paintings becomes larger. The views often have a panoramic character. Though the architectural elements in Bellotto's paintings are generally faithfully represented, the distances between the buildings and their scale in particular views are often the invention of the painter. The Venetian enlarges the most important objects so that they are more easily noticed by the eye of the viewer. Sometimes he changes the distances between buildings, resulting in a more harmonious composition. The foreground of many of his landscapes is covered in shadows in order to direct the attention of the viewer towards the depths of the painting. He seems committed to show examples of damage to the elevation of buildings. Maybe this is a way to represent the power of the passage of time. The characters on his canvas are not simply for decoration, to enliven the cityscape as in the views of Venice by his uncle. The observed inhabitants of towns and villages take on roles in almost genre scenes. Some are captured as portraits. It is noticeable that Bellotto likes to present the contrast between both rich and poor people as well as buildings. It seems to be an aspiration to capture everyday life in which the sublime is intertwined with the mundane. The outbreak of the 7-Year War forces two of Bellotto's most important patrons to leave the country, Augustus III and Heinrich von Brühl. the younger Canaletto is left without a regular income. He also decides to leave. Over a period of 3 years, he paints Vienna and Munich. Upon his return to the capital of Saxony, he is met with many ruined buildings, including the house where his apartment was. Paintings showing the destructive power of war are created. During this period, both Augustus III and Minister von Brühl die. Due to a change in artistic fashion, vedute are considered to be of lower importance in Dresden. Bellotto ends up without a well-paid job. Following the route of another artist from Dresden, the Venetian decides to head for Petersburg. Knowing that he can count on prestige and good remuneration in the courts of Empress Catherine the Great. On the way to Petersburg, Bellotto goes through Warsaw. Here he meets Marcello Bacciarelli, an Italian friend from the Dresden courts who is currently working for the King of Poland, Stanislaus II Augustus. Bacciarelli presents the painter to the king, who offers him work in his court. As it turns out, the position of court painter, the high pay, the artistic atmosphere of the court, and his friendship with Bacciarelli are decisive factors in his choice to stay in Poland permanently. Cityscapes of 18th century Warsaw arise, a city teeming with life. A city of elegant palaces and humble wooden constructions, rich carriages and street stalls. In painting Warsaw, Bellotto not only recognizes its architecture, but also discerns its character with great insight. He is an astute observer of everyday life. He accents characters even more than during his Dresden period. They are a rightful element of the painting, closely connected with the architecture. Sometimes they are captured like portraits, as in the case of Stanislaus II Augustus and his family, August and Zofia Czartoryski, the owners of Wilanów, or that of himself or his family. As some researchers state, paintings from the mature period of Bellotto's creativity herald the romantic and realistic 19th century way of presenting the world.